Links to Learning, the Manitoba session. My name is Tim Daniels. I'm the director for the Can-Do, so representing Manitoba. I'm coming to you from the Peguis First Nation here in the city of Winnipeg, Treaty 1 territory. I am the Chief Operating Officer for the Treaty 1 Development Corporation. I'm very excited to participate in today's discussion. Looks like an exciting topic. And also I want to introduce my the MC of today is Michelle. Michelle will speak to our upcoming presenters. Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome. Good morning. Thank you, Tim. We welcome you to our conversation this morning. It is a good one. Food security, food sovereignty is really, really important. And so this is a really informative conversation that we're having this morning. So we welcome our guests, Branavan and Ian and Virginia. We look forward to hearing from you this morning. The workshop is called Strengthening Community Through Food Projects. So food projects produce more than food. They also provide opportunities for employment, youth engagement. We've got to love that youth engagement and deeper integration with community projects. Through firsthand experiences, this session explores how food projects empower communities in ways beyond the plate. The conversations will focus on why our guests undertook a community food project and its results. So we get to hear firsthand experience and just be prepared. I sat in on Tuesday's session and just be prepared to be inspired, that hopefully a seed is planted in your life and in where you work in your community for the possibility. So Branavan is gonna speak on the grocers and kind of give a background, some background information. So he is an alumnus of McGill and Acadia University with a business and nutrition background. He is presently finishing his MBA in Community Economic Development at Cape Breton University. His experience spans private and nonprofit sectors, and he brings a unique perspective on using community-based approaches to promote health and economic development. At the Grocer, Branavan supports communities in their efforts to take back control of their food system. So we look forward to hearing him speak, as well as our other guests, Ian and Virginia. So I'm going to trust that Branavan, you could give a little introduction on them. So a couple of things: there will be an opportunity for question and answers and comments and dialogue at the end of this presentation. If you have any questions throughout, though, feel free to use that chat box, and I definitely will make note of them, and we will bring them to the question and answer period segments. There is an evaluation form link that's going to be sent to you at the end of this presentation. We would love to hear your feedback, so please lend us your voice, lend us your thoughts on today's presentation. And when you do, your name will be entered to win a Visa gift card of $400. Like, that's amazing. So please fill out those evaluations. We are honored that you are here. Really important topic that we're gonna hear about, we're gonna think on, we're gonna discuss today. So just come with an open mind, open heart. We give thanks to Creator for the gift of another day to learn, to grow, to perhaps collaborate with one another. So I welcome our guests, and I will pass it over to Branavan.
Thank you, Michelle and Tim, for the awesome introduction, and thank you everyone for joining today. It's a pleasure to be able to have this great conversation with everyone. And again, big thank you to Can-Do for organizing this event. So I'm with the Grocer. We're a social enterprise based in Ottawa, and our primary focus is to work with communities to plan and implement a holistic food project. And I do have two other guests that will be joining the conversation, Virginia and Ian. So they both operate and manage the food project in Norway House Cree Nation. So I'll dive a bit more into how we sort of plan and implement the food project and what the food project actually consists of. And then we could carry over the conversation specifically with Virginia and Ian and how they manage and operate their project. So the Grocer, we're again, like I mentioned, we're Ottawa-based company that focuses on empowering communities to take control of their food system by sustainably growing produce year-round in a proven technology. So what we do is we plan a project that allows the community to truly understand what requirements are required to sort of set up a project that focuses on year-round food growth, as well as a community tie to make sure that the food is effectively distributed within the community. So a bit more about the Grocer and the sort of service and product offering we have. Again, we initially started working with a lot of the communities in remote parts of Canada. So for example, one of our first projects was in northern Quebec and northern Manitoba, and even in Nunavut, where we all know that food prices are ridiculously high and there's a lot of instances of food insecurity. So the technology, which is a modular farm, which focuses on growing in any climate, sort of allowed the communities in remote parts of Canada to grow food. And when we started working with these communities, we understood that for folks, growing wasn't always part of the culture or part of the traditions, but what they wanted to do is they wanted to have healthy alternatives available for community members year-round. So we designed this technology and we started working with the communities. So we either will work with a health director, an economic development officer, we'll work with the chief and council to sort of set up a project, and then we'll sort of have a local community member or a youth in the community oversee the project, and then the produce is actually distributed within the community as well. So some communities will decide to sell to a grocery store, do a community full box, sell directly to community members, donate. And once we started doing this in remote parts of Canada, we started getting interest from non-remote areas in Canada and communities that are right outside of Vancouver, for example, right outside of Ottawa. And again, we sort of worked with those communities to ensure that we're able to, again, grow year round and build a holistic food project that encompasses all the needs of the community. And like Michelle mentioned a bit earlier, again, when it comes down to a food project, there's many different ways to plan and sort of implement. For example, we could work with the health center, we could work with a local school, well, we could work with a local co-op, we could distribute the produce directly to the grocery store or like a local co-op, do a food box. So there's multiple different ways that we could sort of set this project up. And secondly, there's also secondary effects that we usually see and the communities will focus on. Usually there is a strong emphasis on the curriculum and the education around food. For example, if the teachers in the school want to help students understand where the food comes from, how produce is grown, we're definitely able to leverage the operation for those particular instances as well. So again, over the last couple of years, what we focus most of our efforts on is to focus on the easy implementation. So again, like I mentioned, the planning phase of the project. So understanding how the project needs to be set up, engaging with the community, so understanding what the needs are. So for example, if we have a focus group with the community and they mention that they want to grow cultural crops, then we're able to start growing those varieties as well. How it's going to be sold, like as the picture you see in Kuujjuaq, they're selling it at their local co-op store. So we do all this in a timely manner to ensure that we're planning for the project well and we're able to implement. And like I mentioned, my background is in nutrition and education. The Grocer team has over 20 members on the team, and each of us specialize in different areas. So some of us have a background in growing, some of us have a background in business. So our goal is sort of help the community plan to ensure that the project is self-sufficient and able to effectively distribute produce to community members directly. And another key component of the project is also to focus on the sustainability piece. So as we know, we want to be able to grow by using most of the resources in an efficient manner. So with regards to the amount of water used in the system, as well as to reduce packaging and things like that, we're able to source more sustainable alternatives. For example, there is corn-based packaging that's also available. And again, when we talk about building a holistic project, we also want to be keen on supporting existing opportunities and as well as new opportunities. So if there is already a food project like a community garden that grows seasonally, the goal is to work with the community garden, ensure that we're able to provide fresh produce year round. If there's a cooking class or a curriculum in a school that wants to support healthy eating, the goal of this project is also to work with different departments to ensure that we're able to provide our support. And again, there's many other communities that are looking at it from a different perspective as well. So if there's a neighboring grocery store or a local business that wants to buy some of the produce, we can also help with that process as well. For example, Virginia could talk a bit more about this in a couple of minutes, but they had the opportunity to package and sell some of their produce to the northern store as well. So those are new opportunities that are more on the economic development side, but what that sort of allows you to do is generate some money by selling the produce and then cover the cost or reduce the cost for other produce that's sold directly to community members. And finally, like the key component that we as a team and when working with the community we focus on is planning from the initial get-go, from the first conversations with community members, community leaders, program managers, sort of business stakeholders as well as government folks that are looking to fund projects like this. The conversation goes throughout each stage, and as a team at the Grocer, we provide support throughout every step. For example, like I mentioned, we engage with the community leaders, as well as businesses if we're looking to sell at the business, and then we also provide all the necessary training and ongoing support to ensure that the project is successful. So like all the community projects that we worked on, we have our Grocer technicians visit the community, work with the community directly, provide the operators and the program managers with hands-on training. And then from that moment on, we maintain an ongoing relationship where we're sort of focused on ensuring that the project is successful. So there is a software that runs in the farm that monitors everything and sort of reports back to us in Ottawa, and we're able to provide recommendations on the heating, what type of plants are growing, how can I optimize the system for the operation as well. And another key component we want to focus on is all our community projects that we worked on. It's a network of learnings that we want to share within all the operations. So a lot of the community projects here have many things in common. For example, a lot of the social stuff, having healthy food options that are available at an affordable cost, having a key component of growing cultural crops, as well as curriculum and education for youth, hands-on training. So those are very common mandates that we've seen amongst all the projects, and there's a lot of learnings that could be shared amongst the network. So for example, our project in Kugluktuk, they work with the local school. So the teachers and the students oversee and manage the project, and the produce is distributed directly to the community. The project in Kuujjuaq, it's their local food co-op that oversees the project. They sell directly at their co-op store, and then they distribute produce to community members, and they donate some of the produce as well. For GNS, which is a nonprofit which represents folks out in Prince Rupert, the goal there is to have fresh produce that's available for local businesses as well as their existing food project. And again, all the learnings that we've seen across the projects we'll share with communities, and we'll focus on having a sense of understanding on where the successes of each projects are and how we can learn from each one. And if there's an opportunity to leverage resources, we'll definitely provide support there as well. With the project in Norway House Cree Nation, I think Virginia and Ian will be able to talk more about that in a bit. Our project in Pimâtisiwin First Nation, they're on the Manitoba Islands. Their goal was to provide fresh produce directly to the community members, and they've recently expanded their project, and they're looking to supply neighboring communities as well. And for Squamish Nation, they have a couple of components of their food project, and they were doing a community food box already, and they wanted to grow year-round. So they decided to use a grocer system to sort of grow food and then supplement fresh produce year-round in their seasonal food box right now. And again, we do work with a lot of businesses as well. So if there's more of an economic development component where you're looking to sell to a larger business, we could definitely provide support there. So there's packaging and labeling and discussions around orders and contracts. We could definitely provide the support there. And again, here are the few of the community projects that we've worked on. For Rocket Greens is the project in Churchill, Manitoba. And as we see, there's some communities that focus on having a direct to community member model. Some communities are selling to their grocery store. And again, from experience, a lot of the communities will create a brand that represents the identity of their operation. And once they're selling produce to the community or to a grocery store, there's a brand that is sold, and it's more of a social mission to it as well. So it's easily, community members are able to easily differentiate the product offering within the community. So I think we could sort of jump into the next portion of the conversation, and I want to introduce Virginia and Ian, and we've been working with them for since June 2019, and they'd be the best folks to share how their project started and how they've sort of evolved. And if there's any questions, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat box.
Do we see Virginia and Ian on? If you can just unmute yourself.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Hi, Virginia Muswagon.
And I'm Ian Maxwell.
Okay, we started in 2019, right?
Yes.
2019, and we for a whole year we just basically handed out the greens that we were growing. The first place we took it to was this gathering that we usually have every year. It's called Yorkville Days, and there's a lot of people there. So what I did was we planted 2/4 of the unit, and we harvested 6 weeks. Like we just kind of timed it where we would harvest on the week of the Yorkville Days. So when that came around, I just put maybe 3,000 people down the bank, and I would just go hand them out to the people just to show them like what we are growing, because people didn't know what our container was. They were wondering what it was for or what we were doing in there. So when that happened, they were all just pretty excited, and they couldn't believe the amount of time that was our produce grows. It's just really like a short amount of time. And for a whole year we did that, and then but 2020 of June, we decided to start selling out of our unit. Well, actually, we went to the local high school, and Northern got involved, and we started selling to them. And I guess the front of the order is from the HBO, which has students about 1,500 maybe in the school, and it's from grade nursery to grade 12. But in the cafeteria, there's only from grade 6 and to 12 are allowed in the school. So, but it's a young, like they're younger, and we were able to like you should see the stuff that they actually make there. They're the ones. The students are the ones that are doing the cooking and the preparing of the salads, the sandwiches, and so when they started. When did we start selling to Northern? It wasn't
Northern
right
has
away.
been off and on. We're starting to sell to them again. That's because they not a disputing, but they have to work out a pricing. Their pricing with their head office, wherever that is, and now that we've got that sorted out, we're selling to them again. And they're just add to Virginia. There's nobody in town that's not excited about this project. So just in case you think that people may not be excited about your project, they may seem like that at first, but you can't beat the freshness and the taste, or the no contamination, no shipping costs, et cetera, in regards to this project, or in regards to our produce. Yeah, go ahead.
What else? Talk about?
Do you want me to go through?
Yeah, go through.
I just wanted to add to what Virginia did down there, because I've been in and out with I had to go through medical cancer treatment, whatever. I mean, I'm cancer free, so I'm back, and I'm just so pumped to do this. So just so you know, they've given me, they're very excited about my health, so I will be a part of this project in a big way now that I've taken a year off. So but I can't say enough about what Virginia has done. She has during the Yorkville days especially, she created a lot of excitement with that. So to put that a little more in perspective, there were a lot of booths down there. She made sure that all the booths were using the produce for all their burgers, etc. Every booth was using it. She made smoothies, kale smoothies, kale blueberry smoothies.
Saskatoon.
Oh, yeah, they were just so. We couldn't get enough of that. They're so good. We're not just saying that. I couldn't get enough of them either.
The kids actually really liked it.
Yes.
You know how kids usually something green in their smoothie, but they like this one.
Mm-hmm. So she did a lot of work, and then it seemed to just blossom from there. So the problem isn't with us. The problem isn't can we sell the food, or will people like it, but it will be how can we keep up with the demand, and that's becoming more and more obvious as the weeks go on, as weeks and months go on. And I know that so pricing and the business management part of it is huge. And just to let everybody know, we are not experts in business management with high-level degrees. We don't have degrees in botany or horticulture. Anybody can do this, but it's quite a lot of hard work. You kind of have to roll with the punches. There may be some surprises, but all in all, it's a really cool thing to do, and everybody thinks it's cool. It's also a lot of fun to do. And when you get your hands on the fresh produce and taste it, and you know it's a good thing for your community in general, it's really easy to get excited and pumped about this thing. So that's just kind of an overview of the general attractiveness and freshness and awesomeness of this whole thing. I wanted to make sure that was put forward right now before we answer questions. This is highly successful, and it'll be a shame if any business management problem or whatever gets in the way of that. think it's really worth pursuing and continuing. And I really want to encourage everybody to get involved. That's just my overview.
Is there anything else you want us to touch up on?
Thank you so much
Do you
for
want us to go through daily procedure?
joining us. Yeah, that would be great to
Go
hear.
ahead.
What was
A daily,
daily?
kind of a daily procedure. Go ahead. You can start, Ron.
Well, see, with me, I'm the one that actually does like I go on the computer or I go on my phone and I just kind of advertise what we have in the community. And the way I do that is sometimes I put in recipes to use for the type of produce we have. I have had a couple of teachers help me. Like, you know, like bok choy is not a big thing in Norway, like in any reservation or any community, Aboriginal community. But I have a couple of these teachers who are actually
They're a course, or actually in the kitchen, in the
Filipinos, is it like Filipino? They're both Filipinos.
Yeah, the
teachers. So
family.
they know what to do. So they shared with me a couple of recipes. So I just kind of put that on Facebook or in my page. And what I also do is I package the herbs and I package the spinach. That's what I do. I was doing a lot of the, like I said, the computer, like the POS system and that, but he's getting into it now. And with him, he does the harvesting. My husband was the one, while he was away, my husband helped with me. And the picture you see there, that's my son. He also works with us when he's off because of like the COVID. There's school every other day. So when he doesn't go to school, he comes and helps me out.
So now that I'm back, I'll be doing a lot of basically running the farm, the physical running of the farm. I hope to get back into being able to do that completely. So one person could do it, one person, and her son or my son is also working in this. It's nice to have two families, I wanted to add, that are involved. So Virginia and her family basically took over. My son helped a little bit, but they basically took over and could run this as a family. And something I'd like to add right now is this doesn't have to be side by side with if I'm right, Branavan, this doesn't have to be side by side with a big business corporation, whatever. I could see two families actually owning a project like this, right? And actually running them. And this could be a family business. Am I right? Yeah, of course. So it's like, this is really important to understand. This is a great opportunity for a family or two families to run a really awesome thing. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. What else is there?
Would you like a kind of a daily procedure of what we might do?
That would be
during the day. Okay, I'll try and make that very concise right now. Although Branavan kind of touched on some issues, I'll just go through a daily thing as if we were doing all our seeding and harvesting on the same day.
But I'm the one that does the seeding.
No, yeah, she would be doing, yeah, right now she's doing the seeding, and yeah, I'll let her, she can start with the seeding. She goes, go ahead.
I usually go in on a Monday or Tuesday. Like, we just try to give it a little bit of time for them to germinate, the seeds to germinate. So what we do is we have this extra black, what you call those, what are nursery containers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we use that. We had an extra one lying around, so we just went ahead and used it. I did my seeding, and then we would put water, reservoir water in that container, and it actually works pretty good. Like with the seeds, you could see the seeds coming out, sprouting, and so that's what I usually do. Is on a Monday or a Tuesday, and
yeah, then you put them in the or we take them because everything is juxtapositioned together. there is a certain order of proceedings that have to go, that have to be done when we're harvesting. So what we do is we harvest first. Virginia has the seeds ready, and she's put them in this extra container, so we get a week extra of seed growth, which we needed because of a CO2 issue that we had. So there are ways of bending this way and that way when you're running the container in order to make it work to your liking. So I would harvest, or we would harvest 1/4 of the grow room. So this is juxtapositioned into 6 areas. 2 weeks in the seeding area. So it starts in the upper racks of the seedling room, and then the Rockwell the Rockwell is brought down into the second level of the seeding room. So it's in the seeding room, or mechanical room as it's called, for 2 weeks. Then it's taken into the grow room where there are 4 quarters. It stays in one of those 4 quarters for the remainder of the 4-week growing period. That's where it sits until its maturity. So it's a 6-week project in all, 6 weeks growing time. So on the 7th week, or the 6th week, whatever, the 6th week, right, I would harvest. On the 6th week, I harvest one of the quarters. So the plants are all full. They're all ready to harvest. We take those plants, bag them with the roots on, put elastic around the roots, bring them into our big fridge, and in a few minutes, they're ready to distribute in the community, or sell as a right out of the unit as our own storefront, where we have our own POS system, and we can just sell. You can come in our little store, and we sell to you right there. So now we have an area, 1/4 of the room, of the grow room, that is, and where her son is standing there, you can see he's in the midst. There's 1/4, 2 quarters behind, or he's in the back 2 quarters, right? He's actually sitting in the back 2 quarters. In front of him will be the other 2 main quarters. So now we have an empty quarter. We clean that, and then we take the seedlings that are ready to transplant, and we transplant them into that quarter. And now the quarter is filled with little seedlings. Then we take the seedlings that Virginia planted, and we put them into the seedling room in that space where those other seedlings were. So every week we get 450 plants coming out of the container that are mature. That's every week, regardless of whether it's 45 below, which it was the other day here. It's 45 below, no problem. We had fresh, healthy plants for everybody, 450 of them. So, and then that process is just done over and over, week by week. And there's a lot of little things that we have to do, maintenance things, and water flow things, and testing, pH balance, nutrient balance, just a certain, and of course we don't have time to go through all that, and your questions will really help. So if there's a question you have in this, if there's anything that's not clear, we'll try to answer that as best as possible. I really hope everybody gets the 6-week thing. The plants are growing in the grow room for 4 weeks. There's seedlings in the other room for 2 weeks, right? And then there's the seeding before that. So seeding, growing, harvesting, just like any 2-acre farm, which this is a 2-acre farm. And the produce speaks for itself.
Oh, thank
Does
you.
that generally cover it? Is there anything I'm missing?
Thank you.
That's just a feeling, yeah.
We do have some questions. So I will
Sure.
the questions that are in the chat box in a moment, but can you elaborate a little bit more how this food project impacts your community?
I couldn't quite hear that. Can you please repeat that?
Sure. How does this food project impact your community?
Well, we think, okay, I'm just gonna, because we wrote down this, what the questions are, but we think that the biggest impact is felt at the Helen Betty Osborne with, like I said, there's 1,500 students there. Like, well, I guess half because every other day, so they go to school, but it's still, where 600, 700 students are consuming our bodies every day, so pretty much every day, I guess. The grades 9 to 12 students prepare salads, like I said, sandwiches for grades 6 to 12. The vast majority of the students in HVU are Indigenous, and so yeah, that would be the biggest impact is on our the youth, I guess you could say. Because that's where, like, we need to introduce the stuff at that age or even younger if we could have, but grade 6 to 12 I think is when they start, they can go to the cafeteria and they can just get a salad or a sandwich, and these things look so good. I posted something on my page, the type of foods that they're making, and that's the chef there is actually really, like, is really happy with our produce, and the way, like, if you could see the salads, the way it speaks for themselves. It's just they look so good, you know. And
if I can just interject a bit, Virginia's right on the money, and she's not saying anything wrong, right? I'm just, while I'm thinking of it, I want to inject this example. The child, is that a boy or a girl, came with the family from the Filipino family?
It's a boy.
It's a boy. He came into our thing. He can't get enough of our pak choi. It's a myth to say that students or young people will not be interested in salad, i.e. pak choi and noodles, or other leafy greens. They're very excited about it. They love the taste. There's a girl we talked to, a young girl, she'd be about 11 years old, that we talked to in Churchill. She can't get enough arugula, for example. Like, I really have trouble with arugula. It's pretty powerful. She can't get enough of it. There's a lot of young people who love it. So just to clear that up, go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, that would be it. The biggest impact is on our youth. You know, like from us bringing this, or what we have to provide to community is great. It's really good. Like, it's just I was really excited when I got asked to go work there. I was kind of scared because I had been away from work for 13 years, and then they asked me to go in, and because it wasn't that many hours, and I still have a 7-year-old, my youngest. So I figured I'd start going into work, and it's peaceful when I go there. I like the sitting in the container and just seating and just, you know, playing my music, and just, it's relaxing. So, but yeah, the biggest impact would be the youth, the young people. Anything else?
That's great. It is all about our younger.
I think.
I do have another question, and then we're going to tend to all those questions in the chat box. So, what would you say are some important factors for success in this project that you are part of?
The maintenance of the system, I'll start with. You have to maintain the system. You have to be there with the system. I know there may be kind of a myth out there that you can just leave your system, because we can run the system on our apps on our computer. So you don't even have to be in the building to run it. In terms of when it's growing, when the plants are growing, you can run it from your phone. You can monitor this. You can add a little more pH. You can manually add whatever nutrients you want. Also, Brenyan and other people who are watching from far away can actually monitor and give you alerts as well. That doesn't mean that there's not a lot of maintenance and a lot of hard work. So, like, as in any 2-acre farm, there's a lot of work, and you really have to be there. Can't just leave it for 2 weeks and not do anything. So, and Virginia and her family have done a bang-up job of being there all the time, and I can't say enough about that. I'll have to learn to be, and well, I'm starting to and learn to be there a lot of the time from now on. So that's like daily. It's a good idea to be in there daily, is what I'm saying. That's the first part. Maintenance and which would involve the understanding of your root system of your plant, of the healthy look of your plant, of the taste of the plant. This is an edible product, of course. It has, our top priority is the state of a plant itself. You want it to be edible and presented properly. Like anything else you would give somebody to eat, cleanliness, freshness is so important. And then the maintaining of things that are broken down in the system. If there's something breaking down, if there's something that's not quite right, like water flow, maybe, whatever little pump or water flow issues, or exhaust issues, CO2 issues, like it's got everything in there. It's got a CO2 level, indicate thing. Go ahead. Is there anything on CO2, exhaust, fresh air, louvers opening and shutting, allowing the fresh air in and out. A perfect growing environment has to be maintained, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. And Brandon, if you're hearing anything that we may have missed or something, you can help us in that area. But there's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think it would be one beneficial thing to mention here would be how your sort of learning and training process was, because I know you started in June 2019, and now you've been successfully be able to do a lot of different things. How did you get trained, and how was the learning curve like for both of you?
At the tip of our fingers, all they have to do is call or it's the help, and they'll call us right away. And we in the beginning we called practically maybe 3 times a day type of thing, but now after a year it's just we'll maybe call once a week maybe, and just little questions, but yeah, it's just we pretty much know now if there's a problem, then we know what to do. And if we can't figure it out, then Drew is there or Tiffany's there, and now you, Branavan. So learned experience, I guess you could say.
We learn on the go. So there's a learning curve here, and we have to learn on the go. That's very important what she said. That's the attitude you have to have as a farmer, is to learn on the go, right? This is I won't mention any names here. It wasn't us that accidentally turned the pumps off one time, for example, and I walked into the container, and then Virginia did after. Like we noticed that all the plants had died that day. So all quarter, the whole unit, plants were hanging straight down. This is one example of a daily thing that could happen to you. They were straight down, lying flat against the metal. Right, and one look and I knew they were all dead, because they're just flat. Like when you see a flat plant, you know it's dead. There's nothing to do except yank it out of the system, I thought. But before I did, I didn't have time for that at that moment. So thank goodness I called Drew. And I knew with the time frame that they hadn't been lying like that for very long. Maybe it was only 6 hours, 4 hours. That was because the pumps had turned off. And Drew said, "Oh, no problem. We'll turn the pumps on." And I said, "Drew, I'll give you a picture." Right? So I took a picture and sent it to him. He says, "Yeah, looks pretty horrible, doesn't it?" So go back in and how many hours? 4? 4 hours. Go back in 4 hours, he said, but don't touch the plants. As we went back in the 4-hour period, after the 4 hours, and the plants were absolutely healthy again. There was no problem. with any of the plants. And I studied every level. I was trying to find one plant that had a problem that looked like it was dead forever. That's just one example of how you kind of have to roll with the punches, not get too excited, and stick with your colleagues on any issue. Like, so, you know, with like Virginia, like I'm always calling Virginia. She's helping with her expertise in various areas. If there's anything we can help each other with, or that Ottawa can help us with, we always can't be afraid to ask and get support.
Yeah, and just a bit of context for those attending. Drew and Tiffany are the team here in Ottawa, and they support. They're part of the Grocer team, and then they support Ian and Virginia with their project. So if there's anything wrong, they just have to call Drew or Tiffany, and they're there to support them.
That kind of leads into one of the questions that's been asked. Is there an initial training program offered?
Great question. Yeah. So so both of our technicians, they were in. They fly to the community, like they were there with Virginia. They provided all the training. I think they spent like 5 days there. So they help with actually setting up the system and then providing some basic training. And once they leave, if the operators like Virginia could call the Grocer technician anytime and ask for support. So all that is provided by the Grocer team.
Awesome. Okay, so there's some questions that we have. So John is posing the question, what would the estimated yearly costs for hydroponic inputs, so plant nutrients and rock wool cubes, and in remote areas, are these pretty expensive to deliver? Is the cost competitive with soil-based growing?
Great question. So with regards to the growing materials, so it costs around $7,000 for all the lab coats, gloves, all the cleaning equipment, the seeds, the nutrients, and that's the annual cost per year. And again, we could ship out seeds as required. For example, if you want to do a bit of spinach now and you don't want to do spinach again, we could ship you other seeds. So all that's possible, and you don't have to necessarily buy the seeds from us. If there's any local sort of options, you can definitely look into that as well. With regards to shipping to a remote community, so I've worked with communities that are in Nunavut. We'll put them on a truck from our manufacturing plant in Manitoba, on a truck to the port, and then we'll put it on a sea lift. But if you're road accessible, we could just put it on a truck. And I think with regards to price, it varies for every community, right? So what we did was when we explore a project, we'll go to the grocery store and see what's currently available, and then we'll be able to figure out how cost effective we will be. For example, if we go to the northern store in Norway House, we know how much it costs. Our goal is to be able to grow it at a more cost effective option. It just allows more community members access to that produce and the freshness as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how is it powered?
Great question. If there are multiple different alternatives, but usually it's hooked up directly to the grid. But if you're looking at options like solar, if you're farther remote, you might be on a diesel generator. There's multiple different ways. So what we'll do is we'll examine each case and we'll provide the best recommendation. Ultimately, the goal is to be cost efficient as well as sustainable.
Okay, we have a question here from Darlene. How did you pick out the spot for soil to grow your products? That might be for.
How they do what? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, for one, soil, we don't use soil. It's just rock wool. It's called rock wool. It's 3% rock and 97% air. And we just use the water. That's all we use, water. That's called the hydroponics. So there's no soil involved.
There's no, yeah, the roots are about as long as, the roots can grow 3 feet long. The roots can be tremendously long and they're flowing along the rocks. You can see the rocks beside Jake here in the picture, in the middle picture, you can see the rocks there. And the roots grow along those rocks underneath the plant, directly in the water. There's no mess or anything. It's just, and the rock wall is just simply kind of a, you call it a medium, maybe, a base anyway, just for the plant to sit on, for the roots to grow through. Very simple.
Okay. Do you ever let some go to seed and use those seeds, or get them from external source constantly?
We aren't harvesting plants for that purpose right now. However, some of the plants have bolted because of how quickly they grow. Sometimes we let a couple of them bolt a little bit, and it's easier than kind of making a mess in the system and whatever, tearing the plant out and hurting the other plants. We'll just let them bolt away there for a bit. But we're not doing that on purpose to harvest seed, no.
Okay.
Not yet, anyway, unless there's something scenario we don't know anything about yet.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like what you're doing is really working for you. So great. And the next question, are you having any dialogue with nations in close proximity to large urban centers or urban reserves about selling into the urban centers' grocery supply chain, in addition to supplying community needs?
Great question. One of our partners, community partners, is Squamish Nation, and they're located right outside of Vancouver. They're looking at supplying their local food box and potentially also explore maybe selling to a larger sort of grocery store. We have a unit out in Ottawa as well, and we sell to a handful of grocery stores. But again, it's finding the right partner, what they want to grow, how you want to brand it, what price point. So there's definitely opportunity there, and we could help you explore that opportunity.
Good. What are the initial startup costs?
Yeah, so in a project, it depends on how much produce you actually need for your community. So you could either go with a full community setup, like Virginia and Ian have, where you're growing around 450 to 500 heads of produce. But if you don't need that much, we could go smaller, or we could go bigger. So it depends, but we're looking at around at least 150K starting price. And again, most of the community projects that we've worked with have either gotten funding or grant opportunities from local governments or the federal government. So we could definitely help with that process as well. So if you send me an email after this, I could definitely give you a more precise number based on what you're looking for.
Thank you. And I know that you do have
And Brandon,
slides with your contact information on it.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a website, so really good resource. Another question. What is the lifespan of the container units?
The lifespan of the units are around 25 to 30 years. We're following that spectrum. So we initially used shipping containers, and now we've started using custom build structures where they're brand new and they're made in Canada. So what that allows you to do is since it's built from scratch, it just lasts longer. And again, it allows you to do more work and make different changes in the system because it's built from scratch.
Awesome. Ian, were you wanting to say something?
Just wanted to add something to Brendan, and for Brendan to talk on. And our production unit, which is, we are actually in 2 buildings. Our packaging unit, right? And so our grow room is positioned a 90-degree angle against the packaging unit, right? But there are 3 slots available for three more grow containers. 3 more sea cans can be placed against the packaging unit. And the band here is very excited about buying another one. So then we could actually produce, they get over their COVID thing, and Thompson as well. So the sky is the limit for us in terms of production.
Yeah, great point, Ian. So as you see here,
I'm just saying, is that correct?
Yeah, like Ian is mentioning the picture here, it's one growing system, and then we see another module in the back. That is the packaging and processing unit. So again, all these modules or containers are modular, so you could plug them in as you grow your operation.
All right. Well, we are at the end of our presentation. It seems like there's certainly a lot of dialogue, a lot of interest, a lot of questions. I believe somebody had asked in the chat, I think William's question was answered regarding the startup costs. I believe Branavan, you covered that already. You're kind of ballparking 150.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So again, so all the information, if you wanted to connect, check out their website, shoot them an email. If you have more questions, I really liked, Ian, what you had said, you know, how can we keep up with the demand, right? Like asking that kind of question, not, will this work for the community? Is this beneficial? But how can, you know, having that perspective, how can we keep up with this demand? Because what we're going to provide with our community is something that's life-giving and sustaining and good. So really get that. And I'm really happy to hear that your health is on the mend. So that's exciting. I celebrate with you. So thank you.
It's absolutely back.
And thank you so much for sharing, just kind of giving us an insight on what you're doing in your community since 2019. And look at you, 450, you know, plants a week. That's amazing. So inspirational. Branavan, thank you very much for joining us again and sharing your knowledge and giving us insight from behind the scenes as well. So thank you all. I'm going to hand it over to Tim just for parting comments.
Thank you, Michelle, and you know, thank you, Branavan, and thank you, Muswagon as well. Great job. Congratulations on this venture, and it's really great to hear about it and learn about it. You know, so I want to thank you, and thank you all the participants that joined in the discussion today. Great to see you all coming in from all parts of Canada. Just to remind you too that visit our website, CanDo's website at edo.ca, where you'll see the future webinars listed there. And also, you also find the recordings of all the past webinars we've had since October. A lot of great presentations and a lot of great dialogue. So again, thank you for participating in today's discussion, and I look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.